Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today we will be discussing about some new tabs which are insert, page layout and formulas. In the last video we discussed about file and home tabs. I will put the link in the description box. You can go and check that out as well. So let's get started. So once you open an Excel file, the third tab usually, is your insert tab. So in this video, we will be taking you through all the options available here, not in too much detail because we will be doing deep dive videos into each one of them. So just to give you an idea of what these tabs contain and in what cases are they useful. All right. So in the insert tab, the first option is the table section. In the table section, you will see there is something called as pivot table, recommended pivot tables and table. So pivot tables are nothing but, as it summarizes right here, when you keep your cursor on top of it, it says easily arrange and summarize complex data in a pivot table. So for example, let's say you have a long employee database table and there are multiple elements in there. Let's say you have your employee ID, your employee name, your employee salary, the location of the employee, age, gender, and so much and so on. And using that database, you want to analyze something or the other based on your requirement. So in such cases, you will always find the pivot tables very helpful. So pivot table, what it does is it summarizes your data in a way that, will help you make decisions faster. So that's what it contains here. And recommended pivot tables is basically, when you are not creating a pivot table by yourself, but you're creating a pivot table that is recommended by the system. Okay. Now let me just give you an example, real quick. So let's say employee number, name, region, and salary. So I'm just taking some random salary here. Let's say this is in dollars. Okay. And region is, let's say, Kolkata, Bangalore, and Chennai. And we can put in some names, let's say Rakesh, Animesh, and Sagar. All right. And I'm just randomly giving them some numbers. Okay. So this is, a sample table for you. Now you can just select this table, click on pivot table, and it automatically gives you some options to select the table or the range. So it's pre-selected for you now. You can choose where you want the pivot table to be placed, in a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. If you put it as existing worksheet, you just need to define which location. So I'm going to say, let's say G1, okay? And choose whether you want to analyze multiple tables. So for the time being, we only have one table. So we will just select, we will just unselect this and click on OK. So now you see a pivot table fields come up here. And now let's say I want to, arrange the summary based on the region. All right. I can do that. So let's say if there were multiple entries with Kolkata, so all the entries with Kolkata would come here. You want to see, what are the salaries of people, sum of salary of people in the Chennai region. Let me just give you an example here. All right. So I can just come to pivot table, analyze again, a new tab pops up here. I can just click on refresh. Okay, so I need to change the data source. Don't worry about this as yet because we will be taking you through all of this in detail. So now if you see Chennai, the sum of salary is 479. Why? Because it's 356 plus 123 under Chennai, right? So this way you can, summarize your data, and it also helps you in, creating tables using your pivot tables, which we will talk about it in a later video. So for the time being, I'm just deleting this. All right. And just deleting your pivot table. Cool. So that's the first option under pivot table. Now next, as I said, recommended pivot tables. If you select this table and click on recommended pivot tables, it will automatically show you some of the different types of analysis that are pre-available for you. Okay, so you can choose which particular table you want as a pivot table and then further analyze it. All right. Third option is a table option. This helps you in creating a table, and you can create and organize your table as an when you require based on your requirement. So just to give an example, just click on table and it will ask you where is the data for your table. Yeah, so I'll just select this data. And does your table has headers? So yes, our table has headers: employee name, employee number, region, and salary. So I'll check this column and click on OK, and you see this automatically has converted it into a table format. And then if you notice, whenever you take such actions, some new tab will be added at the very end, which will help you further customize or add additional elements to your table, or any other element that you work on. Okay, so I'm just going to undo this. Yeah, coming back. So this was your table section. Next is illustrations. Illustration is where you can insert pictures, shapes, and other icons, smart art, 3D models, screenshots from your system or online sources. Next option is your add-in section. Here you can get add-ons which helps you do additional functions that are not usually directly available inside Excel. For example, Wikipedia. It says find and quote related information from Wikipedia. So if you add it, you will have an option to add information directly from Wikipedia into your Excel file. Similarly, there are different categories. So under data analytics, if you go and you select stock connector, you will be able to get the values of stock available in real time into your Excel. All right. You also have a web video player. You can basically embed a video player into your Excel files. So that's what the add-ins do. And once you add an add-in, you will see that it is available for you under the my add-in section. Then there are other options like Visio diagram with Excel, which are pre-installed probably. Then Bing Maps, and this is again transform cold data into a cool picture. So multiple add-ins available. I'm just giving you a walkthrough of what all is available currently. Then you have recommended charts. So see, sometimes what you may need is you may also want to visually represent your data, not only using tables and all of that, but let's say using a pie chart or a line chart or a bar chart. So if you have your table available with you, and when you click on recommended charts, it will automatically convert your data in the tables to a visualized form. Yeah, so now you see, for example, let's see the first chart. On the x-axis you have the regions, on the y-axis you have the salaries, and this gives you a sum of salary by region, a pretty decent representation. So these are charts that are recommended by the system automatically, but in case you want to create your own charts, obviously you can just click on the other charts like insert column or bar chart, insert line chart, right? So I'm just keeping my cursor on top of that. You will see different representations appearing here. So that's very cool. All right. Similarly, there are maps. So for map you will need a different type of data points, and when you have those data points you can create a map as well. Then you can create a pivot chart as well. Pivot chart is nothing but it's a chart that is created from a summarized data. All right. So those are a bit more complex than the regular charts, which again we will take a look at pretty deeply. Next we have 3D map, in case you want to insert the geographic data on a 3D map, which is visualized over a long period of time, as it mentions here. All right. Then there is something called as line, column, win or loss. So these are all spark lines. So spark line is nothing but when you need mini forms of your charts into a single cell. All right. So let me see. I'm not sure if we'll be able to have a line chart here, but let's see. So data range we have selected as A2 to D2, and where do you want the chart? I want it here. Let's see. Oh, cool. It appears here, right? So sparkline appears like this, and if I want, I can just fill it. No major change, but yeah, this is just an example. Usually when you have valid data and you want to enter sparklines, you can use this feature. You can also, have sparklines in column format. Let me just show you an example. Yeah, see, like this. Okay. Yeah, so these are called sparklines, which can be embedded into a single cell. Next is the slicer, which comes under the filters. Slicer is nothing but another form of filter. For example, let's say you have a very long table and you want to see how the data changes when you select or unselect certain things, right? So I'm selecting this table now, clicking on the slicer, and it shows me some options here. Data model, you see connections, and there is no connection found in this workbook. So I don't have an option to enter a slicer currently, but I think I'll be able to show you how a slicer works and a timeline works when we do a detailed video of each of these sections separately. All right, but just for your information, slicer makes it faster and easier to filter tables, pivot charts, and cube functions. That's the basic understanding, as you can read from here. So how exactly it works in simpler terms, we'll be able to explain it in an upcoming video. Next is a timeline similar to a slicer, but it basically takes dates into accounts and shows you an interactive output. Next is the link. You can insert a hyperlink in your Excel using this function. Comment, if you click on this, you can add a comment to a particular cell in case you are working with multiple team members and you want them to know that so and so is the update. You can use it. You can also insert a text box. Yeah, a text box. You can also insert a word art, and there are options like symbols, equation symbols and all that you can insert within your Excel file in case you require it. Okay, moving on to the page layout. So page layout is pretty straightforward. Whenever you want to work with certain dimensions or particular types of formats of Excel that you need to print, that's when you come to page layout and change the formatting accordingly. All right, you can select multiple themes. Yeah, you can select whichever theme you want, you are comfortable with, the color combinations, the fonts, the effects, margins. Yeah, if you want a wide margin, you want a nano margin, you can do that. Orientation can be portrait or landscape, size, breaks, background, print tiles, and all of that, right? Then you have options where you can select the width and height and scale accordingly. Grid lines, so these are called grid lines, the lines that you see as borders to each of the cells. If you don't want to see it, you can just disable it, but I find it comfortable working with the grid line, so I just switch it on. And if you switch it on during print, when you take a printout of this file, it comes up automatically. Similarly, headings are nothing but the column and the row numbering listed here, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3 up to whichever number. So if you just disable it, it just goes off. Okay, all right. Then you have bring forward, send backward. Whenever you want an object to come one level ahead or one level behind, you can use these options. So nothing to worry about. This is again a pretty straightforward approach, and we have just started our channel and more videos are coming up, so we'll be covering a majority of these sections one by one. The final portion of this video is your formulas tab. Formulas tab contains multiple options here, so let's just run through these. Insert function is nothing but whenever you want to insert a function inside a cell, you can do that. So let's say I'm entering number 33 here and then 33 again in the next cell, and I want to insert a function in this. So I just come here, I click on insert function, And when I click on insert function, it gives me an option to select, search for a function. I can do that, or I can just choose from an already available function. This is one way. Or what I can do is I can just double click here, click on an equal to. So all functions start with an equal to. So you type an equal to and then supply whatever function you want to use. So I want to use a sum function here. Okay, I click on sum. I can just click on this auto-filled option here, or I can just press the tab on my keyboard. I press the tab. What is my first number I want to sum? It's this cell. I put a comma in here. And what is the second cell that I want? I want the next cell, which is, okay, I'm not able to select it for some reason, but I'll just put in the cell number. And I click on enter, and there you go. This is your output. All right. Okay. So that's your insert function. You can do auto sum as well. All right. So if you do an auto sum, you don't have to type anything manually. Then all your recently used functions come here. Functions are also categorized into multiple, segments like financial, logical functions, text functions where you work with strings, functions that work with date, time, and hour, lookup and reference functions, math and trigonometric functions, and other functions under statistical engineering, and so on. All right. So it's a very vast topic to cover, which obviously we will be covering in detail. Next is your name defining name defining options. All right. So for example, let's say you want to, let's say you auto sum this. All right. Just giving a random example, and you want to put a name to this particular output. So what you do is you just click on name manager. Yeah. And you say output. Okay. So now whenever you use output, for example, let's say I'm just saying output here, and I click on enter, your value will be displayed here. Now this is a very crude, very basic example of it. Usually when you have a larger output, or a bigger result to store, and you want to reuse that result multiple times in your Excel calculations, you can make use of the name manager. All right. And you can use it in a formula. You can create from a particular selection as well. Next, you have your formula auditing. This is something, these options can be used when you want to check the validity of a formula, whether it's correct or not. For example, trace precedence, right? So when you have an output and you click on trace precedence, it will tell you exactly to which input this output is related to. Similarly, if you, click on an input, so 33 is an input value here, right? And you click on trace dependence, it will show you which value is dependent on this output, which this is what, 66, right? And you can remove those arrows using the remove arrow button. If you click on this output and click on show formulas, it will give you the exact formula that was used to calculate it. You can just click on it to undo it. Error checking, this is again another option which tells you exactly. So if you click on error checking, it says error check is complete for the entire sheet, which means there were no errors found. In case there was an error, the error will pop up here. You can also evaluate a formula, right? So evaluating a formula, you can just click on evaluate. So it shows 66. That's it. There's nothing else to evaluate here, right? If it's a very long formula, you can use this option to help you evaluate that in detail. Next is your watch window. Watch window is nothing but, let's say you have a very long table and you want to, look at some of the values. Let's say, there is another column like overall salary, which is, I don't know, which is 123 times, which is 123 into this particular salary, right? Or whatever, or any complex computation is there and there are multiple columns here, and you want to see how it will result when you increase the salary, how column E will change when you increase the salary in column D. All right, and you want to keep a close watch at what the previous salary was. In that case, you can just put it under the watch window and see how the overall salary changes when you change the values in column D. Now that again is for a very large table, and when you don't let's say your one column is in column A and the other column is far apart in column O or somewhere else. So those cases you can use watch window. Next is your calculation options. So it's automatic by default. So that's why whenever you put in a formula, it automatically calculates. If you put it under manual, what happens is whenever you make a change to any inputs, right? So let me just show you that. So let's say this is manual now, and I'm changing it to 0. So now you notice it's not changing the output. Although the output says sum of G2 and G3, but it's not changing, right? Because it's in manual mode. So you will need to click on the function again and re-enter for it to change. So it's not recommended though. Always keep it at automatic, and whenever you make a change, it is calculated automatically. In any case you are doing any manual calculation, then you will need to use calculate now and calculate sheet options along with that. Alright, so that's about it in this video. I hope you got a basic understanding of what these 3 tabs contain. In the next video we will talk about all the other 5 tabs which are available here, and then we will start jumping into individual elements of it and many things that you can do with Excel in the coming days, months and years. All right, so thanks a lot again for being on this video, and take care.